Right now, let's have a look-see here. Alright, so tonight we're going over Separatist lists that don't include meat bags. So the easy way to start this off is with the new field commander rules. If we take an AAT and we take a T-Series, we now don't have to take Grievous or Dooku. Now, you might be wondering, am I going to include the T-Series and what little we know of it in this stream? The answer is yes. Unfortunately, Legion HQ does not accommodate for it, but we will leave openings of about, we know it's 55 points, and we know that it can take a command slot. So if we're going to take aggressive tactics on a T-Series, we're going to leave about 70 points open, which will then allow us to put that in there if we need it. So now, there's a lot of discussions about what you should be putting on these guys, about the AATs. I do like them a lot. I do think that they're incredibly powerful tanks, but they do have a crucial weakness when it comes to their ranges. Because they can only shoot their main guns at range 2 to 4, anything that closes with them, they're going to have a lot of trouble with. And if you just equip them with these kind of shells, you're still not going to really change that up too much. So you can go one of two ways. You can either accept that if something gets into your lines that you're going to have problems, or you can include some sort of short-range linebacker. Now, up until now, I might have suggested including just a single B2, but, and you're going to see this a lot tonight, I am a big old fan of this. A B2 Super Battle Droid squad with a B2 HA and a T-Series Tactical Droid comes in at 93 points. It throws, at range 3, it's going to throw, oh, come on, that's not what I want to see it. There it is. It's going to throw 2 red and a white with Impact 2 and Blast, plus 1 additional red. So you're going to probably push 3 hits through cover, even if you're just recover shooting every turn, at range 3, and you get reliable, which is just a free extra surge token, and you lose AI attack. So you don't need to give these guys orders to give them surges or to make sure that they're not using their AI. I really like this combo. It really is going to allow you to have that kind of short range firepower, because as soon as somebody gets within range 2 of you, you can now throw basically an ATST pool at them. You can throw 3 red, 3 black, and 4 white. Slightly better than an ATST pool, though you don't have surge to hit like a hammer's ATST would. So, but you do have blast. So, you know, any lightsaber user that's going to walk into that, try to get to your AAT, is going to really feel that pain. So I at least want to include one of these. You could flex it into a B2 ACM trooper for a little cheaper, but I should say a lot cheaper, 6 points difference. But you lose that ability to just kind of cycle shot blast out every turn, which I do think is really good for like range poking out, you know, units, especially unit leaders in like heavy cover or even like lightly armored sniper units if they get too aggressive. So we're going to leave this guy here because he's going to be pretty crucial to everything. We may take multiples of him, but having at least one of these is going to help cover the AAT's major weakness, which is short range attacks. That said, we never like to see a Jedi get to our lines, and on average, this tends to be the stronger of the 2 shells, especially because it's cheaper. And because when combined with the AAT, you're looking at a critical 3, critical 3, impact 1, high velocity weapon, which means you have a lot of, you know, crits that can go through dodges. You lose the high velocity if you're shooting it with the main cannon as well, but it doesn't necessarily feel too bad to do that. You could also just as easily split fire, but for now this is probably the most basic chassis we're going to need. Now, if we're going to go double AAT, which I do think is pretty legitimate, I think I want to take an series. Now, if I'm taking an series, I'm going to take a linked targeting array. The reason for that is that because I'm going to be issuing orders to get Coordinate Droid Trooper, I might as well get some additional benefits out of this. That's generally why, in this case, I expect to be recover shooting a lot more with this tank than with the other one, just because I don't need to aim as much. So I don't feel as bad potentially taking 2 shells on this. Just taking 1 shell on it. That was my mistake. The 2 shells are probably on the other tank, who aren't going to get orders. Yeah, right? That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what the points let me do. But anyway, so obviously we're going to want a bunch of B1s. Let's just take 5 B1s. We're already at 8 activations, 646 out of 800. We haven't invested that much into our lines so far. Now we do kind of have a dead situation here where this battle droid isn't going to do anything. It's not going to feed into another order, so we might as well take a strike team to cap off the end. I'm going to take the strike team. I'm also going to give it shields. And the reason for that is that if I'm only going to be sending one order out at a time, having deflector shields BXs feels really, really good. Now we maybe throw in some... Let's take the sniper droids. Let's just see how many of those we can fit in. See if we can fit them all. Okay, so we can't fit all E5Ss in, but we can get pretty close. This is 794 out of 800. We have a bunch of range, range 4 troopers. We got a bunch of range 5 stuff, or not a bunch of range, but we have a little bit of range 5, enough to probably win the sniper war. And, critical 1. These guys are also going to help support picking off snipers and stuff like that. You could also change either of these HE shells to impact shells if you really wanted to. I don't think it makes a huge difference. Just it cuts into your bid a little bit. So this is probably what I would say is one of the more basic chassis for, a non-meat bag list, as we'll say. Now, that said, when I see mechanized assault, I don't think core heavy or anything like that. I think you're going full supports and full vehicles. So instead, let's take all of this away. Well, we're going to leave him because I do like him. We'll take him away for now. We're going to put Stab Riders in. We're going to put a bunch of Stabs in. All with link targeting arrays because, again, we're going to be issuing a lot of orders to these guys. It's probably going to bounce to this tank, which is then going to bounce to my V1 line. Now, I'm already at 600 points. If I just throw in 5 battle droids, I'm at 787. I still have a respectable bid, which is really good because you're obviously going to want to play Bombing Run, Breakthrough, or KP with this list. So this is where this gets crucial. Now, the downside is, of course, we don't currently know what any of these, the additional Separatist cards do. If we knew that, we could probably get a more useful opinion. I was hoping the T-Series was going to be spoiled by the time we got here, but unfortunately it was not. But instead we got, a Lando Callis teaser, so that was pretty cool. Definitely excited about that, and we're going to talk more about that later on. But, so for now, you're looking, Mechanized Incursion doesn't feel great in this list. You're going to be issuing... when a friendly vehicle unit is issued an order, choose a friendly droid trooper, range 1 and 2, and issue it an order. You're going to be doing that anyway, so it's not super good, because it's just you're just doing it. You could do it off of the T-Series, if you really wanted to give that one an order versus the but you want to give the an order because he has a link targeting array. So, the only other reason I could see it being super helpful is that for some reason you split your droids, like your tank's in the center, and you've got your droids on each side, because then you could split the orders, but that's also really not an ideal situation to be in. That said, you kind of have to take the card if you're playing this, so yeah, you'll have to work with that. So this is what I would consider like a full mechanized assault list, and honestly, probably a very strong skew list. It's not something that's going to be easy for your opponents to take down, especially if they're not prepared to deal with the staffs coming in right away, winning on Bombing Run. Your B1s are good on hostage, they're good on sabotage of apps because they don't contribute anything. They're not important. You could even arguably go, I don't think you can fit a sniper. Oh, maybe you can. You could probably go with like a single sniper team. No, you can't. Can't afford it. So no, you don't. You don't go with a sniper team. But anyway, these guys just play objectives, basically. They play objectives. Your staffs and your AATs are all going to do the damage. That said, you want to make sure you aren't losing staffs early because they're primarily your source of harassment. Losing them early on can be very debilitating to your plans. You do want to activate them early so they get the benefits of Agile, unless they're completely hidden, which, if 3 staffs come out of unit, there's a good chance it's dead anyway, so you might be able just to pick off 1 unit at a turn with just your staffs. But assuming your opponent's just going to feed 1 unit at a time into the meat grinder of staff death is unlikely, and compulsory kind of forces them to engage more than you'd like. So keep that in mind for this kind of list. So these are both, field commander-centric lists. The other one I want to go over is a T-Series that's really just a focus point of your tank. Your tank line, it's going to take both types of shells. You're not going to take these. This is more of an unconventional list, I think, but this is your commander. You're going to take 2 of my B2 Ha T-Series Super Battlers. I haven't come up with a clever name for them yet, like a Upshores. T-Ha's has been discussed, but I don't think I love that name. We're going to take 2 of these guys, because again, they're insanely strong flankers. So you're going to drive the tank up the center. Your Super Battle Droids are going to come up the sides on whatever your objectives are. And then we're going to throw in, you're going to fill out your roster of B1s. We're going to give all of our B1s E5Ss. Then, we still got quite a bit of points to play with here. We're going to take 3 BX droid sniper teams. Now, there's not much else we could do with this, right? We're already pretty full up. We've got 10 activations, and we've already got like full sniper teams. So instead, what if we drop a sniper and bring out some stabby boys? Maybe take... Okay, so we can't take an Axis Mine, unfortunately. That would be cool, but we can't do that. Unless we take out the AP shells. We do have 2 units with Impact 2. That's the other thing about the B2As. It's a really solid anti-armor weapon with Impact 2. So what if we take out the armor-piercing shells? Now we can fit in a Dioxis Mine in a full squad of BX Stabby Boys with Vibro Swords, which, again, are just insanely strong linebackers in this case because they're just going to be stabbing away at whatever they come across. They're pretty resistant to Jedi too because they have impervious, so you can basically throw them in as body blockers. Or if your opponent doesn't have Jedi, you just go stab something to death with a combination of their knives and their Dioxis mines and stuff like that. So again, another list that requires 0 input from Dooku or Grievous. The other advantage here, of course, being that Mechanized Incursion does have value here. You can use Mechanized Incursion to get orders on your B1s. Now, the unfortunate thing here is that because of the way that these orders are going to play out, you're probably not going to end up... You're going to end up at least on the ambush turn not having orders on your B1s. Every other turn, you just issue an order to the B1s in the tank and get your order chain going. But in this particular lineup, there is a turn where you're going to have awkwardness, which I think is fine. There's probably a way to fix it. You could probably take out an E5S and fit in like a rocket launcher or like an HQ uplink. I just don't think it's that necessary. I think one turn of them having to AI shoot is not the worst thing, especially if it's nearer to the end of the game. So, that said, the fact that you're going to have to always take an AAT is kind of restrictive to this. So I don't want to focus entirely on that. We're instead going to take the presumption now that we are going to take a T-Series. Now, unfortunately, there's not a good analog to the T-Series in terms of what we can use. So let's just assume we take it. It's a 55-point unit. We know it has a command slot. Those 2 things. So, what do we take with him, I wonder? I'm inclined to think we do something like this. We take something to start off an order chain, because again, we don't know what he does. We take the usual complement of E5Ss, and we take 2 B2As with T-Series. That puts us as 420. Now, maybe we go full Stabby Boys with mines. Do something like this. That's 720. That's plus 70 points if we're taking aggressive tactics on the T-Series. That's 796, 10 activations, and it's going to consistently get orders every turn. Through the rocket. It's got a ton of anti-impact, so if you go up against a double AAT list, you still have enough impact to actually put a serious dent in their bodies. The other useful thing about these super battle droids I probably should have mentioned is because you've got these 3 guys with the short range guns, and most of your damage is probably early on going to come from the B2 Ha and the T-Series. Your opponent effectively has to chew through 8 wounds on these guys before they lose any combat effectiveness. Or the majority of their combat effectiveness. It takes that long to chew down the B2 Ha, and you're looking at an Armor 1 unit that it doesn't have great saves, but if you put them in heavy cover, you're going to knock out everything knock out 3 non-crit damage. So most of those attacks that roll a lot of dice into you are going to lose a lot of their firepower into this. It's also worth noting that the T-Series, if he is the last mile in the squad, does not actually lose any of the keywords here, or he doesn't lose the one keyword he gains, which is armor 1. So he can, in fact, be an armor 1 health guy with one red running around. Maybe he's good in melee, I guess? I mean, he technically keeps their unarmed 1 black, so I mean, it's not the worst idea. It would be really cool if he had 1 red in melee, but we don't know that. We don't know. Oh, which is we don't know. We know we can't do that. That's also one of the reasons why I like putting him in here into B2s instead of B1s. He just gets more buffs. He doesn't. There's just so little to lose from having him in the B. You lose a wound basically, and you gain so much from having him in the squad. I wish I had the time. Unfortunately, like I said, things are running a little behind. I would have math hammered out the effectiveness of an ACM shot versus a like an aimed ACM shot versus a B2 Ha shot with a T series. Into heavy cover to show like if the blast cancels out the benefits from the ACM and the aim. I'd imagine the numbers are relatively close. So I just feel like you get more options for 6 points more by keeping the B2 Ha in there. The ACM I think is really going to get relegated to just B2 squads that don't have a T series. If you're taking a T series, I feel like you should always take the B2 Ha. It's just such a good flexible piece. I've wiped opponents off safe VAPs with it. I've wiped out snipers with it. There's just so many good things you can do that really put the pressure on your opponent, because you don't see a lot of blast weapons. They're usually like one and dones. Leia's Bombard feels like a blast weapon. Boba Fett's rocket is a high damage blast weapon. Mando rockets are high damage blast weapons. They're all like one use only. B2 Haas can do it every turn. They're just here's 3 hits. Here's 3 hits. Here's 3 hits. And your opponent just shoots back at them, and you just I'm just hemorrhaging B2s. I don't care. Doesn't bother me none. Which I think is really really helpful. So that's like my first tentative look at it. Like I was messing around on Tabletop Admiral, my CIS meat bags list. The other huge benefit of all these lists, I should mention, the reason that I wanted to bring them up, is none of them care about suppression, because they're all droids. Short of panicking them, they don't care. You're not going to lose efficiency very quickly with any of these. That's one of the big strengths of CIS. I mean, this list, until your opponent wipes out the E60R or the E5S or the B2 Ha, even to a certain point, the Diaxis Mind Saboteurs, you're not losing a lot of combat efficiency. They have to chew through all those extra wounds just to get to the meat of your damage. And that's really, really huge, where in a lot of lists, like if you take Shore Troopers, every Shore Trooper you lose does hurt your combat effectiveness moderately. Not significantly, but moderately. B1s don't care. They're mostly relying on the heavy weapon if they have it, or they're just rolling out as many dice as possible and hoping for crits. B2s are just they're gonna toss out that 3 red 1 white blast weapon every turn until you kill off the B2 Ha. It doesn't make a difference to them, and you can't suppress them, so they just keep coming, which is just huge. And whatever the T series does, it's just a boon at this point to the overall CIS battle line. I feel like because you can make lists. Suppression used to be really big. It used to be a very strong mechanic in the game, and phase 2s kind of hurt, or shouldn't say hurt. They helped Gar so much to mitigate it that suppression kind of became to Gar. Suppression has never really been super relevant to CIS sans Grievous, and since you now have options to not take Grievous, I think that you're gonna see that the keyword just doesn't, or not the keyword, but the effect doesn't have a lot of impact on you. This also has really doesn't care about Pierce. You don't expect to make a lot of saves with lists like this anyway. The only unit that really does has Impervious. Your BX droid commandos have Impervious. They have good chances of you're not even taking damage. Which I should also mention, having Scout 3 scale, an AI dodge move does really make Dioxis Mind Saboteurs scary, because they can get to your opponent super fast. I've seen Dioxis Mind Saboteurs get there on turn 2. And that's with the charge. They're just going in, they're stabbing away, and then they throw out a mine. They don't care. They're droids. They don't take poison. So if they lose a guy, so be it. If they inflict any damage, they're probably getting more than their value back on that single Dioxis attack alone. So, very, very strong, I feel like. They can also zone it really effectively. I think that one of the ways you can really hurt your opponent is by putting out Deaxis Mines on turn 1 and 2 around like a key zone, because you scout 3 forward, then you move forward, toss out a Deaxis Mine. You know, try to hide it as best you can, but toss one out, you know, and into a choke zone or whatever else. Your opponent has, if they have to come to it, you're now not only exerting mine pressure, which is something we kind of saw, especially with like Lupo in Worlds Year 1 do, you know, exerting that pressure with your mines, but also exerting pressure with stabby guys, because you've got, you know, what is it, 5 guys in there. You're going to roll 5 red, 5 white in melee. Even Jedi can't take that happily. Arguably, Obi-Wan might be fine with it, but everybody else is not going to feel great about it. Even Vader won't feel too stoked about it. And, I mean, to be fair, they intercept Vader like nobody's business. The fact that he's more machine than man does make me think he should be immune to poison tokens, though. You know, just my strong feelings on that. But, so yeah, I think that's really kind of the core list there. The other one I want to go over is, what do you do with like a T-series in vehicles, right? Because that's like a cool idea. I'm going to go with actually Decas in this list. Now, I love Stabs, don't get me wrong, but I want to go with Decas here, and there's a reason for that. This is going to be more of a pressure list. This is going to be very much so designed to deal with what I feel like is an upcoming Jedi threat. So we're going to give some pretty commonplace upgrades, and then we're going to take some, like I say, always at least a unit of these guys. We're going to take a unit of snipers, just because, the snipers are a good way to cap off your chain of orders. And then we're going to take as many B1s as we can. Okay, so we can't take that. Oh, well, that wouldn't matter. It would be illegal. Also, that's too many points. So that's 2 points too many to take aggressive tactics. So we're going to cut Lock Dirt in favor of Enum. No, because if we take an Enum, there's no. Yeah, we'll take it. That way we just give an order to the The it relays the orders to the battle droids. That's exactly 800 points with aggressive tactics on a T-series. Again, super solid. I mean, you've got attacks at all different ranges. This list will absolutely smash Jedi to pieces. There's no good value for them to go after except for the tank, and you have droidicas and the super battle droids to screen it. This is also a good response to like Tauntaun lists, really anything you expect to deal with. High volumes. I would say even like Wookiee lists. Anything you expect to deal with like high volumes of melee attacks. CIS does have really good responses. Droidicas will just shred Jedi if they get a shot off at them. They'll absorb a lot of return fire, in response. This BX Droid Strike Team, you might be wondering why I keep including this guy. I'm pretty sure, if I did the math right at one point, one sniper with deflector shields can probably beat, across the course of all 6 turns, 3 GCW snipers. And lose to ARCs, because ARCs are obscene, but if it comes to GCW snipers, at least they're going to have a hard time taking him down. And he'll take a few ARCs before he goes. Depending on how much they focus him, and how much he can recover his shields in between, there's a decent chance he'll make it to the end of the game, no matter what your opponent does. You just might lose some offense along the way. The other thing, too, again, is that, you definitely want to be giving him the order at the end of the B1 chain, because you want to be either aim shooting or recover shooting on any given turn, because, he does have good dice with the sniper, but if you can spend it for lethal, so much the better. So yeah, those are my 4 lists I kind of wanted to go over to show off, what potential there is right now in these builds. Do you guys have any ideas or thoughts for, a non-meat bags list? Something you want me to try building, either with the T-Series in the tank or the T-Series out of the tank, I suppose. It's all T-Series in the end. It's everything is T-Series. T-Series and B2s. T-Series on the table. T-Series in the tank. It's all T-Series, guys. now hold in anticipation of a response from the audience. Am I going to put a full list in chat for these? I normally don't. I just kind of roll with what's on the screen. I can certainly do it in the comments on YouTube. I don't think I can do it on Twitch. But if you want, I'll definitely put links to lists on YouTube. No one's asked about that yet. I've only just put links, like lists in the comments if somebody specifically asked for something. Can I do something with mall in? I'm assuming that means BXs. Oh my goodness! You guys keep telling me mall. That's not. He's a meat bag. I mean, he's half a meat bag anyway. All right. I'll give you guys mall lists. I was hoping to save those, but I'll bring them out. Okay. So mall and BXs. Okay. Let's see what I can do with that. Actually, I'm gonna hold off on that. Can you clarify, Josh West? Do you want full BXs or like stabby BXs, BX snipers? What kind of BXs do you want? Give me a little more clarification there, because otherwise I'll probably just defer to BX snipers. Yeah, Michael, I will include. I'll include some links, I'll include links. It's probably easier than me listing them out, or I'll put the lists up and link them. One of the two. Jesus, double AT. Okay, so double AT. Yeah, Borka, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do double AT and mall until I get an answer from Josh. That is tricky. Okay, so first things first, you gotta take a T-Series. Let's take HE shells. I'm gonna do the same basic build I did before. I think Maul just replaces the Staps. In this build. I think honestly that's what it comes down to. I think you take the same exact stuff. You take an Oom, you take a bunch of B1s, B2. Now, you don't necessarily need the B2 high here because you have you do have access to Maul as a linebacker, but so we're gonna throw in Maul. Okay, so we're over points right now. That's probably a good indication. I'm not gonna take everything I'm showing here. I do love Maul, by the way. The fact that you can build them passively or actively, depending on what kind of force powers you want, is pretty dope. I think we're gonna build a passive Maul though. This just plays better to the way that I play. This is going to be a Maul that's very much so designed to go in if your opponent comes to him, not the other way around. Probably no push. There's enough stuff to recover there. I'm going to go 50-50 on passives and active skills. And then, because it's always good to take, we're going to take Dark Droids with comms relay. So what this is going to let us do, for those of you who don't know about this combo, the reason that you want to take a relay on the Dark Droids is, here's what's going to end up happening. We're going to put them all at the top. I'm going to issue an order every turn, ideally from the actually we're going to give the AT, we don't have enough to take. Ooh. That's rough. I want to take that, I do. Which means I might have to sacrifice my B2 squad. Okay, we're going to do that. So, anyway, we're going to sacrifice my B2 so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do... Basically, every turn you're going to either issue an order or this tank is going to take an order to get that order. The is going to issue orders to the B1s. The B1s are then going to go all the way down the line until they reach the Dark Droids. Now, depending on if Maul issued himself an order or not, the relayed order is then going to go to either the AAT or Maul to make sure that they've got to face up. You're always going to have order control, ideally, with this list. So there's that. I would just say something around that line is probably fine. If you're comfortable going down to 8 activations, you cut a B1 and go for a bunch of heavy weapons on them, but I don't know if you need to. I don't know how much that it really improves your offense efficiency. Because you could probably go with, like... Yeah, I can't give you all E5Ss, but you can take 2. You can take 2 E5Ss and still have a comfortable bid. Which I think is probably fine. Is Double Commander actually worth it in CIS? Double the Fall was a very strong list, and I think it still is. I think that a lot of people aren't playing it as much as they used to because there's so much new hotness. A lot of people do prefer to have, like, Dooku Maul instead of Dooku Grievous. Grievous just has some weaknesses that are very difficult for CIS to handle right now. That said, I could also very much see T-Series with one of the two. Probably T-Series Dooku, depending on what the keywords are. That's going to go what's going to come down to is what are its keywords, you know? Does it have contingencies? Does it have direct? It's a tough call to make until you know what he does, right? You know, you have your theories and you have your suspicions or whatever else, but at the end of the day, you just don't know. So, oh, Josh, thank you. So, stabby BXs. Okay, so this is going to be tricky. So, you want me to do Maul? I think I'm going to go with the T-Series here. And the reason for that is that, again, the AAT is really expensive. So, we're going to take Maul. This is, you build Maul however you want. I personally just am really comfy with the idea of having Maul being able to saber throw. Oh, excuse me. Once he's wounded, being able to pop out of cover, saber throw, pop back into cover, and throw 5 red at something with Pierce 2. That pleases me. Force push is always good. So, there's the beginning. Then we're going to take some... We can only take 2 BX Stabby Boys, though, for taking the Probe Droids, which we should always be taking Probe Droids. I think we're still going to go with Dioxis Spine Stabs. So that's 2. Okay, so that's like the base version of that list. Then, I have to ask myself, how many B2s can I fit in this list? Like I said, I like having 2, so let's see if I can fit 2 plus a bunch of B1s. I can! Boom! Okay, so let's add some weapons now. I can't, okay. That was too many weapons. So, I'll take 2 naked ones. These are just objective players. There you go. Boom! Maul, some Stabby Boys, some B2s. Again, you're going to really be relying on making sure... Well, this is actually true. I just realized something, though. We don't have a way to get orders to our B1s right now. Because Maul's cards are, as an operative, are selfish, usually. The +1 trooper's cool, but we're going to have at least 2 to 3 turns where we're not going to get orders. So I think, instead, I'm inclined to take... I don't need the comms relay. Oh, man, this is going to hurt my soul, but I think I have to do this. I think you're going to have to go 800. I think you got to do this. You got to have somebody who can recover and feed orders every turn to your B1s that can then feed an order to the Dark Droid. And Maul's just going to give himself an order. Oh, wait. I forgot the T-Series. I need 70 points back. There you go, I just cut the T. Yeah, it's 9 acts, but you take the T-Series with maybe Ag Tax. But you're giving a lot of orders with Maul, so maybe you don't. Maybe you don't. Maybe you take a bid. Maybe you go back to this. Maybe do this just to be safe. That'd be a 20-point bid if it's for 55 points T-Series. You could also take like strict orders or something and not feel bad, and it'd be like 15-point bid. I don't know. But they're gonna have a lot of trouble dealing with Maul, Stabby Boys, and 2B2 Hot with T-Series. It's just gonna be a lot of pressure just coming up. If they cluster, you're gonna just rip through them like paper, I feel like. I'm going to talk a lot about these things, unfortunately. I think these are more just a matter of preference in a lot of cases. I did talk about them with like the tank lists and stuff, but like these are pretty, I think, a lot of times self-explanatory. If you're playing vehicles, you generally want to play in KP, breakthrough, and or payload. Bombing run is good if you have speedy vehicles. Sabotage is always a good bet if you're blue because it trends towards a tie. There are also things with R2 that are really potent, but we're not doing R2 lists right now. The fact that the Dark Droids, though, have Incognito can also allow for some interesting turn 2, like box grabs, where you've got Maul sitting on a box and you've got the Dark Droids ready to grab it on turn 2. I don't think there's a single objective this list would be bad at. It's just going to exert a ton of pressure on your opponent's safe zones. If you're a defensive player, though, probably not the best list for you. This is a very, very aggressive list. Kind of want to use the Christopher Lee in all his glory. I do think... Okay, I'm just going to put it up. Not related to the list itself, but this is my current build for Dooku. You take Barrier, you take Push, and you take Guidance. Like, you just build super defensive Dooku, and it's so good. He just line backs, tosses out some surges. You don't ever expose him. You don't give him reflexes because he never pops out until he's ready to just shank somebody in the face. No, this is nothing to do with this. This is just my build, and then probably aggressive tactics on Dooku, because he is going to give out a lot of orders. But yeah. So, but the issue with Dooku Maul, I guess, is if you take Dooku Maul, you really want to use Fear, Surprise, Intimidation, which is really strong, and that means you're probably going to want to make sure Maul can go first too, and you have to build around this whole concept of trying to make sure that Maul gets an order on FSI as well. And Maul does not have so few or so many training slots that I would be willing to toss one away just to seize the initiative on that trick. Because CIS has so many other tools to get Maul in order on a 1-pip turn, I'd rather set that up with like Dark Droids and stuff. Because you gotta remember, Comms Relay has a heck of a range. It's range 2. So you could very easily, issue a bunch of orders to B1s off of, like, you go Fear, Surprise, Intimidation, you uplink. You could very easily get an order to Maul and have Maul go first, and then have Dooku follow in with his arsenal to attack. Which, I mean, if you get there and you pull that off, your opponent is probably close to quitting, because it's going to be really hard to come back from that. But a Dooku Maul list is beyond the scope of this. I'm willing to concede a little bit of Maul play because he's so new and people are really excited about him, but I can't do Dooku Maul right now. I got to keep to at least the core of having a T-Series in here somewhere at the moment. Are there any other lists people would like to see? I'm going to turn on... I keep forgetting to do that. You would tell me to get, like, the music that people play on their streams. I keep forgetting to do that. Oh, by the way, you're welcome, Josh. I just saw your comment here. The multi-stream's a little slow. Good, I'm glad that helps. Like I said, I will try to post some of these lists and links to them so you can just grab them and go. Just to be helpful. So, any other requests? I'm going to wait and watch. I'm going to take a drink real quick before I do anything else, though, because my voice is getting hoarse. What do I think for mass activation? I think that it's fine for CIS. You can put so many bodies in the field that your durability rating is through the freaking roof. Let's see. I know I tried this in an experiment once. You go with literally the cheapest options you can in like every facet. So you actually do take these guys. I think you go... Michael, do I feel that tanks are not included at the moment? No. Oh, do you mean in a droids list? No, absolutely not. I think that you can definitely have a droid spam that works fine. That's why I included some T-Series builds that didn't include any tanks. I do think that having a support or a heavy is almost auto-include unless you're going with like a Jedi build. But I don't think you need the tanks specifically. They're really strong, don't get me wrong. But this is going to be a mass act T-spam. So let's assume that we have 2 T-Series, both with... one with aggressive tactics, one with strict... No, just aggressive tactics. So that would be 55 plus 55. That's 110, 125. So I have 625 points to play with. So I've still got a few more points. That's too many. That's too many for me. I do like that 650 coming in really nice. Wait, what am I doing? I did that math wrong. I can't do math, guys. 125 points. I have up till 675. This has a 25-point bid if you take two T-Series, one with aggressive tactics. And you've got... each of these guys have 8 wounds. These guys each have 6, so, you know, you just say it, 8 times 6, 48 wounds plus another 12, 60 wounds, all of which are white saves with no surge, so... Let me grab my calculator really quick so I can do the math. There's also, again, this is just basic durability. The fact that you have access to agile and stuff like that makes a huge difference as well. So 60 times... I think I want to do this. It's about 72 effect durability right now, plus the BXs are each worth 4 durability, so you're looking at an additional 12. Unfortunately, we don't know what the T-Series is worth, but you're probably looking at about 100 points of effective durability. So your opponent has to force 100 saves through a list like this to table you. The problem with these kind of builds, though, is that you don't have like any hitters, so your ability to exert pressure on the battlefield is actually pretty minimal, and I think that's kind of problematic. I think that's why it's probably a good term for it, but mass durability lists don't tend to do well because you just don't pressure your opponent enough. Because if you don't have the attack power to pressure, and if you go out to like try to physically pressure with just the amount of bodies you have, you put yourself in situations where your opponent gets advantages on their attacks. They can get like out of cover shots, and it just doesn't help you. So don't know if mass acti is that good. If that answers your question. This is the roughest version of it I would go for. And I'm not inclined to think it's super good. I could even go with this, go 3 stabs, 3, 3, and 6, and go with a single T-Series. It still doesn't feel great. Single T-Series like aggressive tactics with a 9-point bid. It still doesn't feel awesome. I'd like to see someone try it. I mean, to be fair, this list will win on Bombing Run probably every time. But I think, again, the attrition just isn't going to be in your favor. You're not going to lose squads quickly at all, except for maybe your stabs. But you also won't deal a ton of damage in return. Yeah, I think quality is super important. The top tier play that I see and maybe even play sometimes really does include knowing how to zone your opponent out. And to give kind of a preview of the New Year stream, we're going to talk about zones of pressure in the New Year stream a little bit as a reason why some units aren't as effective as they should be. Again, this list doesn't exert a lot of zone of pressure, and I think that kind of is going to be a problem for it. Whereas, like, if you've got a Luke hiding behind a building, he exerts a massive zone of pressure. It's incredibly heavy, and it's pretty wide. This list does have a lot of wide, but not a lot of heavy. at all. One of the big advantages, actually, to bring up what you asked before, Michael, is the tank, the AAT, does have this big old donut of pressure, because it has that big hole in the center right at range 1, that it exerts. And that's why it's really strong. The ATST has a massive zone of pressure. It's smaller than the AAT, but has no donut hole that it exerts. So you got to look at that stuff. And this is something we're going to talk about on New Year's a little bit more. Talking again about some units that might need some help because they don't exert the right zones of pressure for their cost or who they are. Is a triple sniper still a thing? Yes. The short answer is yes. But it is not the only thing, as it used to be. Before, you had triple sniper, and that was basically all anybody was running in terms of the meta. Now, there's so many good options for special forces in both Empire and Republic that they're not running triple sniper all the time. I've seen triple Wookiees, I've seen triple Mando, I've seen conglomerates of all of it. I have an Empire list I'm going to show off eventually that's got 4 different special forces. It's a sniper team, a death trooper team, an IRG, and an ISF. And it's really good for it. You've got, I think GAR, you've only got one option in CIS and GAR, right? You've only got the BX droids. But BX stabby boys are just as viable in certain builds as BX snipers are in a lot of other builds. Full ARC troopers. My first stream discusses how strong full ARC troopers can be. But that said, ARC snipers are just so good that they are kind of pushing full ARCs out of a lot of players' minds. So I think if any faction's really still stuck on triple sniper and it's kind of debilitating to them, it's probably GAR. Everybody else, I think, has at least a reasonable chance of putting out other special forces squads with regularity. Will you see a lot of lists that don't include any snipers? Probably not. Most lists will include at least one, if not more. But a lot of lists will include other things as well. I hope that answered your question. We are coming up on an hour now, so I do want to talk a little bit about upcoming plans. I have changed the plan a little bit. I was not paying attention to the calendar when I was recently saying we were going to do stuff, and I realized that we definitely aren't going to be live streaming next week. It is Christmas. I do indeed spend it with my family. It is my daughter's first Christmas, so I intend to make it very special for her. Whether or not she remembers it is entirely irrelevant. I'm going to baby the heck out of her. But we are coming back the next week, which is the New Year's stream, pretty darn hard. I have now confirmed I will be giving away at least one Hoth Luke, if not more. I'm still trying to lock down a few more. There will be some sort of raffle. I haven't decided if we're going to do a charity stream or not, or how we're going to do that. I may do multiple things. I may do a charity raffle. I may do if you're watching at a certain point, I'll do the Twitch, because there's a Twitch bot that randomly pulls people who are watching raffle. It just depends on how many Lukes I can lock down. I want to give them away. First of all, I don't play Rebels, except occasionally in Invader League, and I am going to talk about my Invader Challenge then too. But on the table, I never play them. So I've got, as you can probably see in the back, I've got all 3 special guys. I don't need any more Lukes. I have access potentially to some. They're going to be a little expensive for me, but I don't mind. I'd rather people who play the game and want their Lukes to get them if they didn't have access. So I'm going to try to give you, as many of you, the opportunity to get them as I can. We're going to talk. We're going to do a bunch of talks. We're going to do a bunch of list builds. It's going to be very much so if you're watching, I'm going to say, basically at the start, I'm going to say, what do you want me to build? Kind of thing. The focus is going to be on, if we have any news, on the new commanders and specialist packs, Lando and Callus. We are going to be really heavily focusing on those new units and what kind of lists we can build those, because we're going into a new Invader League. People are going to want to play these units. Now, whether or not they will be able to because they're not fully released or whatever else, I'm not sure. But I know people are thinking about them. I know people are interested in, hey, what are these guys going to do to shake up the meta? I'm going to use all the information at my disposal to help you guys plan out lists that include new minis. So that's going to be the whole well, I shouldn't say, one of the big focuses of New Year's. We're also going to discuss, as I said before, we're going to discuss units that might need a little help and how we might change them. I'm trying to get most of my Team Relentless guys on board to do segments with me. So one person's going to show up to talk about one thing, another guy's going to pop up. So, I mean, we're going to talk about Invader League. I hope to have LJ, who's running it on here, at least once. I'd like to talk a little bit about, like, Vader, because we recently had a conversation about him on one of my other streams. So I'd like to have my teammate Nerfly, who's a big Vader player, on here. I'd like to have, Nima sit down and do some Rebel talk with me. I'd like to have various other, members of the TR guys chat and, talk about what they're doing, what we're looking forward to in the new year, and really talk about the game, the brand, everything we can, list building, all of it as a big event. So it's going to start at 5 on New Year's Day, the 1st, on that Friday, and I'm hoping it's going to run for a long time. If I can get a 3-hour stream and give away a Luke every hour, I'm happy. That would make me ecstatic. We may take breaks. We may have the stream cut up depending on the timing of the other TR guys. I don't know exactly what we're going to do. I very much so want this to be a free-form exercise for all of the viewers and everybody who's involved, so that we get as much content out for the new year as possible, as much thought, as much thinking, as much direction as we can. These are new lists we're moving towards. These are new events we're moving towards. These are new changes we're hoping to move towards, stuff like that. So that's going to all happen on the 1st. So as I said, next week I will not be doing a stream at all. I thought about doing a Saturday stream. I decided against it because I want the 1st to be such a big event for people. I really want people to show up in droves, ideally. We have, in some of my streams, we have exceeded 50 people watching at one point, as far as I know. So if we can reach that number again, that's ideal. I'd love to be able to, have such a big pool to draw from and give away stuff. So that's what we're planning on right now. Is there any questions? Anything you think I should do beforehand that would help you guys, so that the stream on the 1st goes well? I'll wait on that. Once again, I'm reminded that I really should have like lo-fi music or whatever on here. Alright, so I haven't seen any responses. And I know with the delay, there's usually not that long of a shot. So I'm going to cut it off here. It's about 1 hour and 5. That's a bit short for the stream, but I didn't think there was going to be a ton of engagement on this one, especially given that everyone's probably on holiday right now. So we will see everyone next week. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and like I said, comment. I'll try to comment as many lists as I can below once we get it up on YouTube. If you're watching on Twitch, you'll have to go over there if you want to see the links. Unfortunately, I'm not Twitch savvy enough yet to really set all that stuff up. So Anyway, everyone have a great night. Enjoy yourselves and be safe.